Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F123 Driver Career Mode here on the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. I apologize if you hear any background noise in this episode. There is road construction happening in the next street over, which is very close to me, so you might hear a little bit here and there, hopefully not. But yeah, we come into my home Grand Prix weekend. It's a Canadian Grand Prix, fresh off of a very frustrating weekend in Monaco where, of course, another mechanical failure, which would lead to a brief phone call with Christian Horner.
Hey Gary, what's going on?
Hey Christian, hope you're doing well. I need you to be straightforward. What are the chances with being with Red Bull next year?
Honestly, right now I don't know. Max is happy again, so it's down to Sergio. I would suggest getting out of Aston Martin no matter what. It's a crumbling team. We can help you with the process.
All right, let's stay in touch. You heard our brief conversation right there over the phone with Horner, who's suggesting just getting out of Aston Martin should be the goal in general, not necessarily just going to Red Bull. Nonetheless, Aston Martin, Lawrence Stroll have no idea these conversations are happening behind the scenes now as well. But focusing in on, our Aston Martin car here on Friday in practice, it's nice to come off of such an annoying Grand Prix where we were running second. We led the majority of the Grand Prix, had a mechanical failure in Monaco, and we can come to home here in Montreal and kind of hopefully get back rolling in the right direction. That's kind of the goal today here now, is we would end up P9 and P10 as well. You guys remember KONNERSPORT, I said there was an update coming on them, and we actually finally got some insight on what's going on with that team.
We are doing everything we can. I know the car is not perfect, but
Andreo, it's every race. Do you know how I look losing easy points like this?
Knock, knock. Sounds like there's a right show going on in here. What am I missing?
Not now, Devon.
Aiden and I were just discussing issues with the car.
Again? I thought that was all in hand. I had no problems today. Smooth. You know what they say? A shoddy workman always blames his tools. mate. You can look at my setup data anytime you want. I've told you that. It might help.
And I've told you before, it's not a setup issue.
You hear Aiden Jackson's concerns and frustrations following recent Grand Prix, where after he was scoring points, that car has really struggled to, of course, get points as of late. They've been falling a little bit further down the order. Of course, we've seen no upgrades from KONNERSPORT, BMW. These new teams, a few bottom-running teams, have made no upgrades this season, and what I'm guessing is focusing in on Season 4, potential huge regulation changes, and this could pay out big time for them, but of course the frustrations right now running high. P7 in Q1, and immediately after the frustrations of KONNERSPORT, Jackson and Butler out in Q1, things seem to get worse. Here I am in Q2 getting impeded by Pierre Gasly, so I had to run a second lap and hoping for the best here. So 15th on the board, immediately finding some pace in turn 1 as well as 2, and you can see I lose a little bit unfortunately, so that really sucked. And then a rough chicane, and all of a sudden reality's starting to hit. We haven't gained as much as I was hoping we would here. 1.2 seconds up, but that was only because of the situation with Gasly. We find about 1.8 seconds total. I don't think it's going to be enough. To the line, Piastri with a 109.0, we have a 109.3. We're 14th, another rough qualifying effort as well. It's worth noting we will be taking a grid penalty because of the engine failure in the last episode. Wow, again, frustration. We're starting from the back at home in this frustrating season. Let's head to the grid.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to the variant of this track back in 1978, and it was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. George Russell will begin today's event in pole position, and it's Lewis Hamilton alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Leclerc, Albon, Norris, Tsunoda, Ocon, Gasly, Oscar Piastri. Iwasa, Bottas. Sargent, Jackson. Butler, Teo Pourchaire. Liam Lawson and Golden Boy. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Gary, what's the goal today at home?
I'm going to go bold today, Ted. We're going to get a top 5.
Wow, okay, I hope it works out for you. Good luck today.
And that's a bold prediction right there, a top 5 as we are ready to roll. No weather impact on the way. We're going to be doing the softs to mediums this time, trying to make an impact right off the grid, of course, starting at the back of the grid. Mercedes, front row lockout. We're ready to roll.
Right then, the formation lap is underway here in Montreal, a circuit where the cars take a physical battering and the pit and paddock facilities are cramped. But the atmosphere, as always, is great and the race ahead has the potential to be a good one.
I spoke to Owen pre-race, guys, and he truly thinks he will be on maybe the best drive of his season today, so watch out for him on lap 1.
Tensions growing between him and the team, of course. We'll continue to keep an eye on that.
To start the race as the cars take their positions on the grid, with the drivers and teams making their final preparations.
All right, guys, we got a decently fresh engine now, so as long as it stays intact today, I think we're going to have a good one.
Focus in, full send on lap 1. Make your country proud today.
It has not been the ideal season here in Season 3 that I think we were expecting and hoping for. We thought we were going to be fighting for the title. We knew when we rolled into Season 3, however, things were quickly going to be the opposite of that here once we saw that R&D table. We are ready to go racing, however, here for 35 laps in Circuit Gilles Villeneuve now here from Montreal. The Canadian Grand Prix is underway here. As you can see, it's a rough start for Devin Butler now as we head down towards Turn 1. We've already gained a few positions. We're going to lunge up the inside of Sargent Pourchaire as well as Iwasa right to the back of Pierre Gasly going around the outside of him. We're already into the top 15 and you can see up ahead it's Russell Hamilton top 2. Hamilton still winless on the season at a track though where he's had so much success at, of course, in the past. His first career win back in 2008 and of course now an 8-time world champion. Can he go and get another Canadian Grand Prix victory here today? In what you never know could be his final season depending on how it goes. Perez through into 3rd place. You got the Ferrari duo just behind with Leclerc, Sainz as well as following them. It's Max Verstappen. Then you got the McLaren duo of Albon and Norris, but Norris out ahead of Albon right now. Tsunoda a little bit further down in the order right now behind the Alpine of Esteban Ocon. And I was able to get ahead of his teammate of Pierre Gasly. So we're settling in and actually I was trying to put some pressure on Aiden Jackson right off the bat, but a little bit unsuccessful there. But a clean start here in the Canadian Grand Prix. Everyone's settling in for these first of 35 laps of racing here in this Canadian Grand Prix. Seeing some moves right at the back of the grid. They're going to go side by side into the chicane and they're going to get it worked out there. That's Logan Sargent moving through on Iwasa now as we complete this first and opening lap. And there's Aiden Jackson, a big lunge up the inside of the rookie there as he continues to try and fight on the outside, now on the racing line on the inside actually through turn 2, but we get around him up into P13, P12 as we come through to lap 3. DRS and now enabled right to the back of the Williams Martini of Oscar Piastri, who continues to dominate his teammate of Logan Sargent here now as we have an opportunity to send one up the inside. This is a bit of a late one here. I was a little bit reluctant to do it, but after just 3 laps we're already caught up to our teammate of Tsunoda looking for points. Tsunoda has had a few rough Grand Prix, of course dominated me in Imola. That was really where we saw some pace from Yuki, but other than that it's been kind of hit or miss. And you can see he's going for a move right here on Esteban Ocon to kick off lap 5. I'm going to lunge right up to the back of these guys, actually way too deep into turn 1. Fortunately we avoid any conflict there with anything, either from person versus person or person versus environment. Now as you can see Tsunoda not able to complete the overtake on Esteban. Now I decided to give him a bit of a moment here, let him have an opportunity to get things sorted now, and actually Tsunoda will get the job done here into turn 1. You can see yellow flags, however, behind us in the chicane. That's one of the Alfa Romeo Haas cars. It's Liam Lawson actually who's got a mechanical failure. Now I'm going for a move, but I back out of it, think better of it. That would be stupid to send one up the inside there. So Lawson, our first DNF of the day here now as we try to settle in behind Ocon, who has a lockup on the chicane nearly into the back of him. We take the position now, and as that was happening we start to see things heating up at the front of the grid now. Lewis Hamilton going for the lead here in the Canadian Grand Prix. Prix, and you can see Russell not going to make it easy for him. Contact there maybe between the two drivers. Hamilton on the inside trying to get the job done. Russell not making it easy. He wants to, of course, fight for his first title in Formula One this season. Perez loving what he sees. He's trying to join the party there as they continue to go at it. Russell would stay ahead for now, however, in front of Lewis Hamilton here now as I am trying to settle in and focus in on Tsunoda. But my soft tires, by the time lap 9 comes around, were really starting to fade compared to the cars around me on the mediums, and I was really struggling. You can see me looking at my pit window, seeing how much longer I have to hang on, and it was about 5 laps more at this point. Not a huge fan of that news because I was really struggling, but I was still able to use the DRS to my advantage and keep myself in striking distance on Yuki, and actually we're right on the back of him here now as we exit the hairpin on now lap 12, and look at the run that we might have. Do we set him up here for an overtake right now before the chicane? That was the goal. See if we can clear him before that chicane, not take anyone side by side into it, and that will sure enough put us through and in 9th place. But you know, running down 3.9 seconds on Albon is just not going to be a realistic objective. As you can see, the battles continue up front. Lap 13, Hamilton around the outside again of Russell on the inside. More contact there as they continue to scrap it out. These two drivers really giving it all, but I think Russell, yes he will, he'll stay ahead again. Perez once again right there in perfect position to strike, but can't do anything now, as Hamilton might have to look at maybe the pit cycle if he really wants to get ahead of Russell. Again, yellow flags in turn 1 this time. This time it looks like not a mechanical failure. I think we got a spin. That might be yes it is, the BMW of Valtteri Bottas. He goes for a simple little loop around, and he's going to get it collected and get it back going. We usually see a safety car here in this Canadian Grand Prix. Well, we see one today. We've seen a lot of safety car presence this season. Pit window open. I was honestly just happy I made it to the pit window. We were still losing time to Albon ahead. These softs were struggling so hard, but nonetheless we make it to the expected pit stop time. Lap 15 coming to 16, so we come in, get down to the pit speed, no issues. I was a little bit cautious there going into the pits. I usually am, but as well we're probably going to see other drivers on the softs enter the pit lane right here, like Oscar Piastri. Mediums go on, so we're going to have more pace than everybody around us for the time being because they'll all be switching over to hard compounds in front of us. So we do have a good opportunity, I think, to make up some more track position here, not only you know, on track, but as well in the whole process of the pit cycle running its course. They're going to be losing a lot of time in front of us while we are on these fresh mediums. So we'll see what happens here as things cycle through. We can see pit stop starting to kick off for other drivers. Aiden Jackson there pits off the soft compound. Hamilton's going to come in on lap 17. He pits before George Russell. This is going to be interesting. Onto the hards, and you can see Leclerc is in as well, taking out those mediums, putting on the hard compound tire. Lando Norris, same situation there. Hards go on. We continue on, and we're closing up on the back of these guys now, but we're going to be quite a ways behind. Tsunoda as well in the pits. We're going to pass him easily. Norris actually, hold on. There he is right there as well. Leclerc just in front. So we are going to be in the mix here. We're not really far behind, and we've only put a couple laps on this fresh medium rubber, and as well we're still going to have a pace advantage on these guys. Russell has come in for his pit stop a lap later than Hamilton. Perez stays out another lap. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Is he going to be out in front of George Russell? Let's see. Russell exiting now. There's the line. There's Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton is going to get the lead off of this strategy.
Guys, what the f*** is this? Honestly.
Head down, George. Focus.
You hear the frustration from Russell now as we actually have another spin on track. That's Gasly losing it. It has not been a good weekend here in Montreal for Pierre. We continue on, however, to lap 19. We actually set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We're going to be out in front of Albon. You're going to see Verstappen, Sainz as well exiting right here. We are right in the mix with these guys. We have left Tsunoda behind. 6.7 seconds now, 7 seconds as we came to lap 21. And now we get to join this little scrap right here between Lando as well as Max Verstappen wheel to wheel. As you can see, Verstappen down the order today. Not been the weekend, of course, that he is looking for, especially when he's in a car capable of fighting for the world title. Here he goes up the inside now of Norris. This will easily put him through into P6. Not even close. Down into turn 1. He was already clear into the corner now as I'm trying to spice it up with the McLaren. Can I make a move on Norris, who continues to struggle? Albon's closing in on both of us. A rough, oh my goodness, that chicane went very wrong for Norris. I think I tapped the back of him. As yes, we do. We get a warning for a collision. collision. Albon is stomping Norris's pace. I don't know what's going on with Lando, but nonetheless, we move up into P7. We have had one heck of a drive here today in Canada from dead last to P7, and now we're setting our sights on Max Verstappen. These mediums are absolutely lit up and moving right now, as we did not have the pace at the end of that first round to be able to close in on anybody aside from our teammate of Tsunoda, but here we are on the mediums running some of the fastest laps on the circuit here of anybody now as Verstappen and rush chicane, and now we have a huge run on the back of him. He's going to cover it off to the left now as we are nearly making contact. We're going to lunge it up the inside of Verstappen, nearly contact. We continue wheel to wheel through turn 2. We'll go around the outside. Another position gained on the Dutchman now as we're going to go through the grid as these final 10 laps are underway.
Hamilton on track for his first win of the season in Canada. Russell cannot be happy running second behind him.
At least not in the fashion that it has happened, Crofty. Great run for the pair of Ferraris today as we see Owen trying to hunt them both down. He called his shot, and sure enough, a great drive at home for the Canadian.
Albon now in front of Norris. He continues to shine in his new team.
Aside from his shunt in Baku, guys, he's done a fantastic job so far. This is maybe the first time since Sainz being on the team that Lando has had some real pressure from a teammate. Tsunoda struggling a bit here in 10th. It's been an up and down season for him. Of course, part of the deal, to bring Honda on early, they had to bring Yuki to the team, and you have to wonder if the team will pay the price in the long run.
KONNERSPORT drivers run 13th and 14th right now. We got a bit of insight on the team earlier this weekend. How do you enjoy that, Martin?
Well, it was basically Drive to Survive, just focused around one team. It was interesting to say the least.
And that will wrap things up for Through the Grid in these final 10 laps of this Canadian Grand Prix. Ayumu Iwasa there, P16 over Théo Pourchaire. Pierre Gasly and Valtteri Bottas line up the back of the grid. Of course, the two drivers that had self-spins throughout this Grand Prix. BMW, of course, co-owned by Fernando Alonso, who drove for Aston Martin and fought for that title last season. Well, hopefully we can see some gains out of this BMW team in the coming episodes, but it's going to be hard to see that happening here. I really don't think you're going to see those teams make big steps until next season with the potential regulation changes on the way here now, which is also why we kind of did a shorter season. So, nonetheless, we are closing in on the back of Sainz, as well as Leclerc, as I'm nearly closing in as well on the barriers to the left side there. The Pirelli yellow, of course, very easy to spot around this circuit all the way around, as we are now certainly showing that we might have pace for 4th place here in Canada. Not the expectation that I had this weekend, but it's now becoming a realistic option. Now on the back of Sainz on the exit of the chicane, less than 10 laps to go in this Canadian Grand Prix. Wheel to wheel with the Spaniard, down into turn number 1 around the outside, nearly into the grass, but we get the job done. Now up into 5th position here, setting our sights on Charles Leclerc on the Ferrari. Now as you can see up ahead, it's still Hamilton, Russell, and then quite disconnected from them on his own island, Perez now, as we continue to try and close in on the Monaco-based driver. Sainz under pressure from Verstappen in the background. I'm starting to slip inside. These mediums are starting to go away, but there's still enough pace in them to keep myself in the hunt. Look at Leclerc sliding through the final chicane. I couldn't get through there very much better, so I didn't get an opportunity to overtake Verstappen. Now into 6th, Sainz down to 7th. Seems to be fading as these laps go on, as we continue to just try and keep that pressure at a high on the back of Leclerc here now, as we are in these final 5 laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. No matter what happens now, it has been a heck of a drive, one heck of a drive from the back of the grid here now, as we're all over the back of Leclerc into the final chicane. He's still sliding around there. He is struggling on those hards. This is going to be the opportunity that I was hoping for now to the back of Charles Leclerc. We're going to go up the inside this time instead of around the outside like we did on his teammate. Easy move into turn 1, and now we take over the 4th position in these final 4 laps of this race here. Now we'll continue on and try to just hang on to this 4th position here. As you can see, Sainz on the track map continuing to fade backwards, as you have to start wondering, is there an issue there, or is he just really struggling on that hard compound tire now, as we are just trying to hang on in these closing 3 laps. Hamilton coming up on some lap traffic. Been a while since we've really seen lap traffic play a role, but of course some self-spins allow that to happen here. 2 laps to go in the Grand Prix. Sainz continuing to fall down the order. I nearly wrecked myself out of the Grand Prix into the barrier. A big moment of oversteer. Leclerc capitalizes on it around the outside. He takes takes 4th position here. Show the nose into the final hairpin and actually tap the back of him, then sliding again on the exit there. So that's not going to allow me to make a move right here down this straightaway as we approach the final lap of the Canadian Grand Prix. We may have just thrown away a 4th place effort here, but still P5, nothing to hang our heads down on, of course, on this final lap of the Canadian Grand Prix. Do we have anything to keep the pressure on the back of Leclerc? We stick with them so far through these opening corners down towards the chicane. Of course, such a crucial chicane. Leclerc struggling a little bit there, but unfortunately just wasn't enough. We go down into the final chicane, sending it way too deep, and that's going to wrap it up. P5 is what we're going to have to settle for here. Lewis Hamilton, for the first time this season, the defending world champ, wins in Canada. Russell going to be 2nd place. I'm sure he's disappointed with that. Perez will round off the podium with a 3rd place effort. It's going to be Leclerc, myself, Verstappen trailing behind. P5 it will be in our home Grand Prix in Canada, our 2nd best effort of the season outside of the podium in Baku. P5, we will absolutely take that. A nice recovery day and a bit of a boost of confidence. Driver of the day at home in Montreal. Let's head to the podium.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Natalie Pinkham, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
I feel consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
A really fun, honestly, Canadian Grand Prix. I think that's the first Canadian Grand Prix, however, where we did not have a safety car. We had some self-spins, but usually here, a safety car happens with a crash at the Wall of Champions in the final chicane, but we didn't have that here today, surprisingly. So, obviously, that led to no safety car. Lewis Hamilton on that top step, very thrilled with that victory, of course, and we have that title fight early on in the season, really specifically right now between him and Russell. Verstappen's kind of falling out of it a little bit, but hopefully he can get himself back into the mix here to make things interesting so we don't have another Mercedes runaway for 2 consecutive seasons. We'll take a look here at the standings now. Verstappen only manages 6th place. Sainz did hold on to 7th over Albon. Albon again beats his teammate. Tsunoda does pick up a point for us there as he is so far better than everybody behind him, so there's really no excuse for him to not get points here. We'll take a look at the standings here in Montreal to follow this Grand Prix, leading us into Austria, a sprint weekend coming up. You can see right there, we're still down in 9th. Russell ahead by 22 points over Hamilton, 46 and 47 over Perez and Verstappen. They have some work to do to climb themselves back into the title fight mix, so I'm hopeful they can do that in the coming episodes. Going home, of course, to Austria, that's going to be a big opportunity there. That's going to wrap things up. You see the constructors to wrap things up as well. P5 on the board for us behind Ferrari. I'll see you guys in Austria for the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.